Hello and welcome to another recap show, which I'm just gonna call the recap from now on. So this is gonna be the third one now. This will be the first one I'm actually gonna edit for your viewing pleasure. So let's get right on it. First of all, last week was my week of many scares, as I called it. Sort of my 1 week take off, like horror months and stuff like that. And we started that off with Until Dawn. Now, Until Dawn was really good. We played that on Monday and Tuesday. So it's not a very long game. It was about 7 or 8 hours that it took me to get through it. At a nice casual pace. Reading all the stuff that I found and stuff like that. Definitely worth the experience. And it, most of all, what surprised me the most was probably that it definitely seems like the type of game that you want to play more than once. And I don't play games more than once often. But in that case, for one thing, it being short is a very big factor on that. As well as the fact that it has the sort of multiple choice thing. It has multiple places. It doesn't ever give you many choices. It gives you usually like this or that type of choices, but it gives you them often. And they will end up interacting with later stuff, and sometimes they will take some later choices away. And secondly, it uses quick time events really well. The way it all moves along, because it's not a game where if you mess up, it's back to the early start of the scene. It will keep moving on. If it ends up being like a lethal choice or a lethal mishap, it will just kill off the character. It will just kill it off, and the rest of the game moves along without that character. And that is a very beautiful thing. It will really make you feel worried and tense. It will really keep you tense. That's the thing that it does. Makes you feel constantly on your toes, and if you get too comfortable with the game, you will get really freaked out when it suddenly throws one of those quick time events at you. I really like that. It really creates the mood for it. It is like if somebody wants to call it more of it's more of a highly interactive horror movie, and I do mean highly interactive. It has a lot of stuff that you get to affect. That actually changes how things work. Sometimes it just changes dialogue. Sometimes, like I said, people end up dying. But and sometimes it's just for that one scene. Sometimes it works, like mentioned earlier. Sometimes it changes something later on in the game. Of course, it changes relationships between the characters, so they will think about each other in the different ways, which will change things. So like I said, all that makes me really want to try it again at some point. It was also very good for me streaming wise. It was actually the game that I was expecting to do the worst out of the 3 games. I was expecting it to do alright, but I was expecting it to be the least interesting for people out of the 3 games that I had. But it actually ended up being the biggest game, and I ended up getting all my new followers from that game alone. The next game was Resident Evil Remake, which was... I have basically never played any Resident Evils at all. I mean, I played... The only game that I played fully to the end is Resident Evil 5, which many people don't even... After that game, people don't even think of them as Resident Evils, mostly. And as a kid, I played a demo of Resident Evil 3. And those are all my experiences with Resident Evil, so I was really excited and happy to play that. And it started off really... I started off really being a nervous wreck because of... I like to save my game often when I play. I like to be saving almost every time I walk by a save point, I like to be saving. And of course in that game, limited saves, so I knew I couldn't do that. That really messed me in the start quite a bit. And especially so because I knew that you also have limited items. You have limited healing items and limited ammo. I was especially worried because that I'm gonna save here and I'm gonna shoot at some point, gonna waste too much ammo or healing items, and then end up saving again and just realizing later on in the game that I'm running out of everything and that it's all gonna just fall apart. I was really worried about that the first day playing it. But second day I got through that. I got over that. I got much more comfortable with the game. And we played that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and part of Saturday. Most part of the bigger part of the Saturday. By Thursday, I got over my nervousness, and Friday and Saturday especially, I was fully into it, and I was really enjoying it, and I'm very glad afterwards to have gotten through it. And it was a great experience for me personally. The third one, which we got to start on Saturday after Resident Evil, we got about 2 hours into Soma. Lastly, I would actually say sort of the one I enjoyed the least. Not to say that it was a bad game, I really liked the game. But I think at that point the timeline that I had put myself on to beat these 3 games in by the end of Sunday, the timeline was, the deadline was sort of pushing me, stressing me out quite a bit, so a little bit of a extra stress element in a game that was already quite stressful because of the monsters hunting you down. And it being a frictional game, it actually feels gameplay-wise a little bit between Amnesia The Dark Descent and Amnesia Machine for Pigs, in that it's first of all made by Frictional, who made the Dark Descent. And it definitely has a very heavy horror atmosphere, and I was at least truly frightened when those monsters came after me. I was truly frightened by those, but it also has, from Machine for Pigs, it has a much simplified inventory system in that you technically have an inventory, but you only are ever gonna have 1 or 2 items with you that you use sort of automatically when you just find the thing that you interact with it. It will use it automatically, the right item. So that was simplified, and it was a bit lighter on puzzles. It was more focused almost on exploration and of course story. It was very story focused. Besides an atmospheric horror, it had the monsters chasing sequences, but it was more about just making you nervous. It used those monster chase sequences to make you nervous and scared that those are gonna happen again. But most of the time, it kept them away from you, and you got to go around. It was just keeping you on your toes by not making you feel that they're not around now, but they could be at any given moment. They could appear, which was very effective for me at least. And especially when they did appear. There was only one part where there was a few pitch black corridors, and even though some of the monsters are actually blind, so you can use a flashlight, so it wasn't like I literally couldn't see, but I ended up running around in circles and not I ended up not figuring out how to dodge the monsters by making sounds and stuff, and I was too stressed out. It was also on Sunday I had to do my cast in 2 parts because I went out to dinner with my friends, so I ended up, that was also where I left it off, so I had to start my second part of Sunday stream right off that part, so that was like my low point of the game. But that was partially my fault because I wasn't figuring out some of the things that you were supposed to do there, and I had just come back. I had just left the game in a very intense part where I shouldn't have really left it. I should have left it at a point where I'm not currently chased by monsters, but once I got through that part, I actually enjoyed the game quite a bit. And the end of the game was really enjoyable for me from that point on. There you have it. That's the recap of the week. I hope you enjoyed this information that I gave you, and hopefully I'll see you on the stream sometime. That's it. Have a good rest of the day, and goodbye.